Hey everyone, had a really cool idea by one of our top fans on Facebook, Nick. Yesterday he sees a lot of our deer in the background of our videos, or all of our elk and deer, and he said, hey, we need to know some of the stories behind some of these. So we're going to start Taxidermy Tales Volume 1 on this guy today. Not a deer that you guys see in the back of my videos very often. He's over here towards the side. And he is an archery whitetail that I shot. Let me flip this around and get you guys a little close up. So I shot this buck on October 9th of 2011. Still got his early season cape. Really pretty, really big 8-point. He's actually a 9. He's got this little kick, but I call him a big 8-point. So I actually have a little bit of footage of this guy. So I'll tell you the quick lowdown and the story behind this big 8-point that I shot with my bow on October 9th, 2011. So I had scouted this area, and I grew up hunting this area a lot. And there was this big milo field kind of on top of this, big draw, big Cedar Canyon style area. And there was no way to hunt it. All the deer were just smashing this milo field in the mornings and the evenings. We had a ton of trail cam pictures, and I actually never had a single trail cam picture of this guy. And this was back when I was really into whitetail hunting, and specifically with my bow, sitting in tree stands, sitting in blinds. That was kind of my style back then. And so the only way to hunt this field was basically get a blind up around the edge of this field where they were transitioning from this canyon coming up on top of the field. So I set a blind up in there before the season and just let it sit. And I got back from college on a weekend, and I went and checked my cameras on Friday, and late afternoon when I got back, and it was October 8th. And I went in and checked my camera, and I had one picture of this guy down below, about a half a mile from where my blind was set up. But I knew he was transitioning up into this field. So the next morning I went in and I got in that blind before light. Dad actually went with me with the camera and sat up in there. The morning was kind of misty and cold, a little bit of wind. And we sat up in that blind. Sure enough, see a couple mule deer filtering up that morning. And then we see this guy and a nice young 10-point come into that field, and they started just working their way, feeding in the milo towards us. Pretty awesome. I was going to shoot that. I didn't think this guy was going to come in, and I was going to shoot that 10-point, but this guy finally started following in, and they worked their way into 20 yards, almost too close. It was so quiet. But Dad actually had to put the camera down to open up the side flap of the blind because they worked around beside us, and it was so quiet. He didn't want to leave the camera. We didn't have a tripod. He was just one-handing it. So he set the camera down, I went full draw. He pulled the blind cover down slow, and the guy was at like 20 yards. I shot, and the back of my arrow actually hit a little piece of milo. So the arrow hit a little far back. So he was drilled, but the arrow went a little far back. He ran off out of the milo, down and bedded down. We actually caught him. His horns, his rack bedded down in this thicket about a half mile away. I snuck up on him. I spent like 2 hours sneaking in there nice and quiet and botched the shot on him. Luckily, we watched him bed down again. We just decided to let him be. And we let him be all day, went back the next morning, and recovered him. My cousin Clayton and my friend Mud actually helped recover him, and my dad was there. It was pretty awesome. One of my biggest archery whitetails to date. So I was pretty stoked. Pretty awesome. 2011, my early days. Couldn't have been happier with this awesome whitetail. Pretty special place to hunt for me. I don't get to hunt there too often anymore. I do a little archery hunting down there, not too much. So always be a hunt to remember. My dad in the blind with me, just on a quick weekend back from college. So there's Taxidermy Tales, episode 1 on a deer you probably haven't seen. Not much. There's actually a little bit of footage out there of him. Link it in here as well. Have a little fun. Thanks for the idea, Nick. we'll do more of these to come. Thanks for jumping on today, guys.